Hi, we're in the shop at Deck Restoration Plus. I'm Everett Abrams, the Wizard of Wood. I'm here today to talk about Deck Restoration Plus deck and wood stains. And it's the water-based stain that acts like an oil base. And today I'm going to do a live demo and show you the benefits of using Deck Restoration Plus stains. First, to explain what we're going to do today, we're going to wet wood and we're going to apply the stain to wet wood, but we're also going to apply it to dry wood. As we do that, we're also going to strip off some existing stain from a board that's already been stained using a sodium hydroxide based stripper. Some of the benefits to using Deck Restoration Plus deck and wood stain is that even though it's a water base, we don't need to use a solvent based stripper as in most cases. This is a water base that really truly acts like an oil base in many ways. It actually penetrates into the wood, as well as it's easy to strip off using a sodium hydroxide based stripper. And today through this demo we will show you that and show you some of the advantages to using Deck Restoration Plus deck and wood stain. So first I'm going to come out to the front and we can get started. First I'm going to put on my gloves. We will be working with strippers and brighteners when we apply that to the previously stained wood. As I'm getting this ready, I will tell you that Deck Restoration Plus stains come in 4 different tones at this time. We have Burlington Gold, which is our natural. We have Seneca Brown. We have Medford Cedar and Chemung Red. Today we'll be applying Chemung Red to the boards. So first, as we do this, we're going to take a piece of wood that's already dried, 2 pieces. One we're going to leave dry and one we'll leave wet. As we do, we'll soak it in the water that I've already have in the bucket. And then somebody might say, hey, are you sure that's what that is? That's water. I'm also going to get a hose and soak the wood. As you see, it's wet. And we're going to allow that to dry. As this dries, we'll give it a couple minutes as I start stripping the wood. This would be typical of what you do when you're pressure washing or prepping the wood to stain. You're going to get it wet, and typically with an oil base you have to wait approximately 48 hours before you can stain it. Deck Restoration Plus deck and wood stains you can stain immediately. You can stain the next day. For us, scheduling wise, we prep the decks one day, but even if it rains or we get it wet that day, the next day we can come right back and stain. If we wanted to, we could do it that day. And that's what we're going to show you today. So as that dries, we're going to put it right next to the dry wood. We're going to get the previously stained wood. You always pre-wet your wood when you're going to strip it or clean it, which is what we do here. Okay, everything's wet. Working with a stripper and brighteners, we want to put on our safety glasses. Put on our safety glasses. This is also Deck Restoration Plus stripper, sodium hydroxide based stripper. We also have that available as well. And you only apply your stripper to the wet surface, which we're going to do here. And we've applied the stripper. Set that down. Rinse off our brush. Just pre-wet again. Keep it active. Sodium hydroxide based strippers are only working when they are wet. As we do that, we'll talk a little bit more about the stains and sealers. The stains and sealers hold up very well UV wise. They're easy to maintain. They're also to be able to be applied with a sprayer as well as by brush. And usually we're holding up 2 years as we go back before we do the maintenance coats. Although we get to some of the jobs, they still look like they're done and comparable to some of the other products. They hold up longer. It usually looks like it's a deck that was done a year ago, not 2 years ago. So everyone's very happy with the color retention and the way the deck looks when we come back to do that maintenance coat. Okay, so typically we let a stripper sit and dwell for quite a while. Sometimes it's 10, 20, 30 minutes. We're not going to do that here, and you're going to see why, because the stripper is very effective at removing this, but it's also very durable. Now, just so we talked about, the wood is penetrating. And what I mean by that is, when we take a piece of wood, we can see where the wood actually comes in and goes into the wood on the side view. It's not just sitting completely on the surface. Most water bases are very film forming, they're very durable, and that's what the focus has been in the industry these days, is on durability and not ease of maintenance. Deck Restoration Plus deck and wood stains are very easy to maintain, they're very easy to work with, they're durable, and they work like an oil, so it's completely different than what most people see in the industry. And again, I can bring the cross sections of all the pieces of wood, and we can see where it actually gets into the wood as well, on the different tones, different colors, and they have the different colors hold up very well. We still see the grain through them very well. If for some instance we do something called intermixing. Intermixing is where someone wants a little bit different tone. Deck Restoration Plus deck and wood stains are very easy to intermix if you wanted to put a little bit different color of a stain in there. And we've done that where we take our Burlington Gold and we mix it with a different tone. This just happens to be Cabot New Cedar and Cabot New Redwood. And we can still see the grain using our stain. So if somebody wanted a little bit of tint to change the color, it can be done that way. Another benefit to using Deck Restoration Plus deck and wood stains. Okay, just want to go back to the wood. It's only been a few minutes. We're going to wet. And right now, we're just brushing, but typically the pressure washer would be what we would use to rinse off the wood surfaces. You can see. Rinse off. We're going to apply the brightener. And that works right away. And when that dries, when we come back later and look at the wood, we'll see the same thing. Okay. We'll see how that dries. We're going to let that dry right here. And now we're going to take the dry wood. We'll actually take the new wood that's been wet. And we're going to take Deck Restoration Plus's Chemung Red and apply that to both pieces of wood, both the wet and the dry. And this is a smaller version of what we would do on a deck. Now, one of the best ways to apply stain, whether we're using oil or water base, is to do a wet on wet application. So what that means is we don't wait the next day or another day to apply the stain. We'll apply it the same day. Now, what seems to happen with Deck Restoration Plus stains is, as we apply it to the wet wood or damp wood, what happens is as it dries, it seems to pull the stain in and leaves a nice coat. When these two dry, you'll hardly see the difference between the coats that we just did. When this gets a little bit dry, normally within about 10 minutes or so, we would apply the second coat. The way we do it more in the field, we'll actually do one side of the deck, 4 or 5 boards as far as your arm can reach with a brush. We go to the other side of the deck and do 4 or 5 boards. Then wet on wet means we go back and we do a second coat on those first 4 or 5 boards, and then we come in another 4 or 5 boards. And we work our way to the middle. If the steps were on the outside of the deck, we work to the middle and go out. but that's how we do wet on wet. So in this case, we would wait about 10 minutes and we would go and put on a second application, which we'll do. And then we'll come back, and when we come back, in about an hour, we'll see how it dries. And when we do that, you'll see there's hardly any difference. But before we go, we'll just put another coat on, which again, in the field, you're going to wait a little bit longer for this to dry before doing the second coat. And we'll see how that looks when it dries. We'll be right back. Hey, this is the Wizard of Wood, Everett Abrams, 30 minutes later into the future from where we left off with. And at first I want to show you the wood that we stripped off, which had our Chemung Red on it. As you can see, looks like a brand new piece of cedar. Very similar to the back. You can still see where the stain was on the side. This is stripped off. It can easily be restained. Now, hopefully, once we apply our stain to the wood, we're not going to have to strip it off. But the reason I bring that up is because this is not like your typical water-based stain that you would have to use a solvent-based stripper or struggle with a long dwell time. This was a very short dwell time, rinsed off. This is what it looks like 30 minutes later. So this is a piece that we had already stained with Chemung Red, and this is the piece that was stripped off. Very easy to strip. Okay, so it's a very easy product to maintain, very easy product to work with. Okay, now we want to look at the two pieces of wood that we stained. One was wet and one was dry. This was the one that was dry. This was the one that was wet. Okay, still a little wet right there around the knot. Okay, when we put the two next to each other, and I can feel the dampness in this piece of wood still. When we put them next to each other, you can't even tell the difference. Beautiful color, beautiful tone to the cedar. And this is only 30 minutes later. And you can see there's no difference between applying to dry wood or wet wood. So, what this means for you when you're going to use Deck Restoration Plus deck and wood stains in your business, what happens is it makes it easier to schedule. Knowing the fact that you could go out a day after you cleaned it and apply the stain and not have to worry about the moisture and moisture meters and so forth will help with your scheduling. Not only that, it also extends the season because you can work earlier in the spring and later in the fall when moisture becomes an issue. We don't have that problem with Deck Restoration Plus deck and wood stains. For example, last year in 2013 in New Jersey, we worked up until the second week, middle of December, and we're still working. We had the temperatures, and again, we can still work with the higher moisture content. There you go, Chemung Red. This happens the same with Seneca Brown, Burlington Gold, or Medford Cedar. We have those 4 colors and tones. We have the cleaners, strippers, restorers, brighteners, and all the products available to help us also restore the wood and get these great results. Moving forward though, a couple years, when you go to maintain this, it's a very easy, simple, clean, and then recoat. So again, Deck Restoration Plus deck and wood stains. Very easy product to maintain, very easy product to manage, great color, great retention. It does get into the wood. You can see on the ends of the wood, it does get into the wood. It's not like your typical water base sitting closer to the surface of the wood. Great advantages to using Deck Restoration Plus deck and wood stains. If you'd like, give us a call, 1-866-440-3325. That's toll free, 866-440-3325, and we can send you a sample kit. Thank you.